The Rideau Center had two kinds of entrances. There was the one facing Sussex Drive, with the revolving glass doors and the seasonal planters that got changed out every few weeks. And there was the one off the parking structure on level 2, where the fluorescent lights buzzed faintly, and the floor was always slightly damp from the salt people tracked in off their boots. Owen Hadley, 34, a licensed electrician who had been working contract jobs since the company he'd spent 6 years with the previous spring, used the second one. Not because he was ashamed of it. He just knew where he was going, and that was the shorter way. He had his daughter with him. Clara was 7. She was wearing her purple coat with the broken zipper that he kept meaning to take somewhere, and had not yet taken anywhere, and she was holding a list she had written herself in careful, deliberate printing. New pencil case, colored markers, ruler that's not bendy. She had been preparing the list for 3 days. Owen had been in the mall maybe 4 minutes when he saw the woman. She was standing near the entrance to a housewares shop on the main concourse, the kind of store that sold linen napkins and soap dishes at prices that suggested the soap was made from something rare. She was elderly. Owen would later estimate mid-80s, and she was small in the way people become small when they have been living alone for a long time, weight gone from the shoulders, posture turned inward. Her coat was clean but thin for February, the kind of gray that had once been another color. She carried a canvas bag in both hands, and she was looking at the window display with an expression that was not quite longing and not quite sadness, somewhere between the two. Owen noticed her the way you notice something that doesn't fit and then move on. He was steering Clara toward the stationery store at the far end of the concourse, thinking about whether he had enough on his card after rent, calculating quietly the way he did constantly now without realizing he was doing it. Then he heard the voice. It belonged to a young woman in a blazer. The kind of blazer that said she had a title on a lanyard, shift supervisor or something close to it. And she had come out of the housewares store and she was speaking to the elderly woman with the deliberate, carrying patience of someone who considers herself to be exercising restraint. I've already explained this, the woman in the blazer was saying. You can't stand here. The elderly woman turned from the window. I wasn't inside. I was just looking. You were blocking the entrance. There's no one. The elderly woman looked behind her. The concourse was lightly trafficked at that hour, a Tuesday morning in mid-February, the post-Christmas quiet that settled over the mall like dust. There was no one trying to enter. There's no one there. That's not the point. The woman in the blazer folded her arms. This is a private commercial property. If you're not shopping, I need you to keep moving. Clara's hand tightened in Owen's. He had stopped walking without deciding to. The elderly woman's name was Vera Kowalczyk, though Owen did not know that yet. She was 83 years old. She had come to the Rideau Center that morning because it was Tuesday, and on Tuesdays for the past 11 years, she had taken the 95 bus from her apartment in Vanier and walked the concourse for exercise, the way her doctor had told her to do after her hip surgery, indoors where it was warm, and the ground was level and she wouldn't fall. She had never bought anything in the housewares shop. She had never bought anything in most of the shops. She looked in the windows the way people do when they are not so much interested in buying as they are interested in the fact that beautiful things exist. She had not caused any trouble in 11 years. I walk here every week, Vera said. Her voice was steadier than her hands. I've been walking here every week for ma'am. The supervisor's voice shifted into something flatter. I'm not going to ask again. There was a security guard now. Owen hadn't seen him approach. He was heavyset, 50s, and he positioned himself 2 steps behind Vera in a way that was not exactly threatening but was designed to feel like it might become threatening, the geometry of implication. Clara looked up at Owen. She didn't say anything. She was watching the security guard's hands. Daddy, she said quietly. He was already moving. Excuse me. Owen stepped into the space between the guard and Vera, not aggressively, just solidly, the way you stand when you mean to stay standing. He looked at the supervisor. What's happening here? The woman in the blazer assessed Owen. He was in his work jacket, the dark green one with the company name from his last job still on the chest, because it was a good jacket and he wasn't going to buy a new one. His boots were functional. He had drywall dust on one sleeve he'd missed that morning. He was not the kind of person the Rideau Center's higher-end corridors were designed with in mind, and the supervisor's expression said so without saying so. "This is a private matter," she said. "If you're a customer, I'd ask you to. I'm asking what this woman did." Owen's voice was even. "Because from where I was standing, she was looking at a window, sir." "She was looking at a window," Owen said again. "And you came outside to tell her to leave, so I'm asking what she did." A small silence opened up. 3 or 4 people had slowed to watch. Clara had moved to Owen's side and was holding the hem of his jacket. Vera looked at Owen. She had the expression of someone who had been in difficult situations before and had learned not to expect help from them. "She was loitering," the supervisor said. "To an empty door," Owen said. He wasn't angry. Exactly. He was something more careful than anger. On a Tuesday morning. He turned to Vera. "Are you all right?" Vera opened her mouth and then closed it. She was not accustomed to being asked. "I'm fine," she said. "I was just looking at the window." "I know," Owen said. "I saw." The supervisor straightened. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you both to." "Can I ask you something?" Owen said. He looked at her lanyard. "Deborah, can I ask you something?" Deborah blinked. People didn't usually use the name. "What policy is she in violation of?" Owen said. "Specifically, what is the policy she's broken?" A pause. "We have the right to ask any individual to vacate the premises if they're not." "That's not a policy," Owen said. "That's a right. I'm asking what policy she violated." What rule did this woman break, standing in front of your window, looking at your display, which was put there for people to look at?" Another pause, longer. The security guard shifted his weight. He had not yet spoken. He seemed to be recalibrating whether this situation required him to do anything. "Daddy," Clara said. She tugged his sleeve. Owen looked down. "Aren't we supposed to help people when something's wrong?" He had told her that. He had said it to her in the car, in the kitchen, at bedtime after she'd asked him why he stopped to help a man whose grocery bag had split open in the parking lot at the Freshco on Montreal Road. He'd said, "We help people when something's wrong because it costs us almost nothing and it means everything." She had remembered. She was 7. She had remembered it more clearly than he had. "Yeah, babe," he said. "We are." He looked back at Deborah. "This woman is not breaking any rule. She's not blocking anything. She's not threatening anyone. She's an elderly woman looking at a shop window in a public mall on a Tuesday morning." He paused. "Whatever she looks like to you, however she looks to you, that's your business, but this ends here." Deborah's mouth thinned. "I'll be speaking to mall management," she said. "Good," Owen said. "So will I." What happened next surprised him. Vera did not cry. She did not thank him effusively or grip his arm. She simply looked at him for a moment with those steady, tired eyes, and then she looked at Clara, and she said, "That's a very good coat." Clara looked down at her purple coat with the broken zipper. "The zipper's broken," she said honestly. "Purple is the right color, though," Vera said. Clara considered this seriously. "I think so too," she said. Owen exhaled. They walked together for a few minutes, the 3 of them, a strange and temporary formation, a 34-year-old electrician, a 7-year-old with a handwritten shopping list, and an 83-year-old woman with a canvas bag, moving along the concourse past the shoe stores and the phone repair kiosks and the coffee place with the line out the door. Vera told him, unprompted, that she came every Tuesday, that her hip had been replaced 4 years ago, and the surgeon had said walk somewhere flat and indoors, and she had chosen here because the bus went directly and the floors were smooth. She said she'd been coming so long she recognized most of the cleaning staff by face and the security guards by shift rotation. She said the housewares shop had changed its window display 3 times since November, and she had a preference for the second one, with the blue ceramic bowls. Owen listened. Clara listened too, which he noticed because she sometimes tuned out when adults talked at length about things that weren't about her, but she was listening. "Do you come alone?" Clara asked. "I do," Vera said. "Every week?" "Every week." Seemed to be processing this. "Doesn't it get lonely?" Vera looked at her. "Sometimes," she said. "But the bus driver on the 95 always says good morning." And I know which benches have the best view of the fountain, though it's not entirely lonely. They stopped near the food court entrance. This was where their paths diverged. Vera had one more pass to make, a full loop of the upper concourse which she took slowly, pausing to rest at intervals. Owen and Clara had pencil cases to find. Owen wrote his number on the back of a receipt he found in his jacket pocket. It was from the Canadian Tire on St. Laurent, 14.89 cents for electrical connectors. He gave it to Vera. "All if you have trouble again," he said. Vera looked at the receipt. Then she folded it carefully and put it in the inside pocket of her gray coat. "I don't usually bother people," she said. "You're not bothering anyone," he said. That's the point. He thought that was the end of it. It wasn't. 3 days later, Owen got a call from a number he didn't recognize. He let it go to voicemail. He was under a kitchen sink on a contract job in Kanata, fixing a junction box that someone's previous electrician had left in a condition that was diplomatically described as concerning. He listened to the message on his lunch break, sitting in his van with a Tim Hortons coffee going cold in the cup holder. The message was from a man named Peter Okafor, who introduced himself as the general manager of the Rideau Center. He said he was calling in reference to a complaint that had been filed. He said he would appreciate a call back at Owen's convenience. Owen called back from the van, watching a crow investigate something on the sidewalk. Peter Okafor, it turned out, had not called to threaten him. The complaint that had been filed was not by Deborah. It was one Owen hadn't known about, filed by a woman who had witnessed the incident from the coffee shop, who had recorded part of it on her phone, and who had sent the footage to the mall's general contact email, along with a description of what she'd seen. 2 other bystanders had done the same independently. The footage had circulated internally. Management had reviewed it. "The staff member in question has been spoken to," Peter said. He chose his words carefully, the way administrators do, and the security contractor will be reviewing the conduct of the officer on scene. Owen said he appreciated that. There was a pause. "There's something else," Peter said. "The woman you assisted, Mrs. Kowalczyk. We reached out to her through the transit authority after she mentioned the 95 bus to one of our customer service staff who followed up the next day. She's been a regular visitor for over a decade, she told me," Owen said. "We were unaware," Peter said, and Owen heard something in his voice that wasn't quite embarrassment and wasn't quite guilt. It was the sound of an institution that has just been made to see something it has been not seeing for a long time. "We've asked her to come in. We'd like to offer her a permanent visitor's pass for the walking program and a standing invitation to use the staff rest area when she needs to sit down somewhere quiet." Owen looked out the windshield at the crow, which had found what it was looking for and was now flying away with it. "She'd probably appreciate that," he said. "She said." Peter paused. "She said the man who helped her had a daughter in a purple coat. I wanted to make sure I was speaking to the right person." Owen smiled despite himself. "That's us." That might have been the end of it, except that Peter Okafor asked, at the end of the call, whether Owen did electrical work commercially, because the mall was in the middle of a retrofit of their emergency lighting system on the upper level, and the contractor they'd hired had underdelivered significantly on the timeline, and they were looking for someone to come in and assess the outstanding scope. Owen said he did commercial electrical work. Yes. He came in the following Monday. He walked in the main entrance, the Sussex Drive one with the revolving doors, because that was where he'd been told to come and where he was meeting Peter. He was wearing the same green jacket. He still hadn't gotten the zipper on Clara's coat fixed, though he'd made an appointment. He met Vera in the concourse before he met Peter. She was doing her loop of the upper level. She had a better coat on, not new, but heavier, a dark navy wool, and she was moving with more ease than he'd seen the week before, as though the weight of the previous Tuesday had been lifted from somewhere in her posture. She recognized him immediately. "The electrician," she said. "That's me," he said. "I got a very nice letter," Vera said. "And a card. Laminated, it has my photograph on it. A visitor's pass," Owen said. "They took the photograph 3 times, she said. The young woman said the lighting was bad the first 2 times. I think she was being kind. "I don't photograph well anymore." "I'm sure you did fine," Owen said. Vera looked at him. She had that way of looking at people, measuring something that wasn't quite visible. You didn't do it to get anything, she said. I want you to know I understood that. It matters. Owen started to say something modest and then stopped, because she hadn't said it as a compliment. She'd said it as a statement of fact, the way people do when they have spent a long time observing what motivates people and have learned to name it clearly. I hope it helped, he said instead. And then, with the same directness, how is your daughter? She's good, she's in school. She found a pencil case she liked. Good, Vera said. The coat still broken? Getting fixed Thursday, he said. Vera nodded, as though this was acceptable. Purple is worth fixing, she said. She continued her loop. Owen continued toward the management office. The retrofit contract was not a small one. It was the kind of job that would carry him through spring and into early summer, steady hours, commercial rate, the kind of consistent work he hadn't had since the company folded. He didn't know what to do with that for a moment, standing in Peter Okafor's office with the paperwork in front of him, that it was real, that it was here, that it had come from a Tuesday morning and a broken zipper, and a decision to stop walking and ask a question. He did not think he had done anything extraordinary. He had stopped when he should have stopped, said what was plainly true, and stood where it mattered to stand. Clara had reminded him why. That was all. He signed the paperwork. On the way out, he passed the housewares shop. The window had a new display, spring things, pale yellows and soft greens, things that looked like they were built for a season that hadn't arrived yet. He looked at it for a moment, just looked. No one came outside to ask him to move. He walked through the revolving doors and into the February air, cold and clean and sharp at the edges, and pulled his jacket closer against it, and went to pick up his daughter from school.